Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Tempo TCG here, back on the Shuffle Squad YouTube channel, and today we're going over the last tier list of this current format, and that is going to be the LA Regionals tier list. Now, the metas relatively stayed the same as what we saw, however, we did see Lax win a regional, so it might have shifted a little bit. Let's jump into the video, let's talk about what we think is good, what we think maybe isn't as good, what is a really good play, and maybe we'll see Charizard EX fall from the top. So starting right off, we do have Dialga. I think Dialga's still very strong. I don't think it's got the surprise factor it once had, but I still think it's a very good deck, and I still think it is an A tier deck for sure. I'd say it's still a top 5-6 deck in the format, so I think A tier perfectly suits it. Entei Valiant, still don't play this deck, fellas. I tested it, I was like, hey, Dialga's good, maybe Entei Valiant's good. It's not, don't play it. Arctina, I think this deck is actually quite strong right now. I think your Block Lax matchup is relatively pretty okay. As long as you just don't let no Bidoofs or anything get caught, I think you're fine. Just try to just win. Even Bibarel is like not too shabby of an attacker, to be honest. So I don't think the matchup's impossible. I think like I would rather play Arctina into stall than chien-pao. So that's at least a good thing. And I think that's something you really have to think about right now is, how's my stall matchup? How's my control matchup? And I think Arctina is one of those decks that, like, it's just really solid. Your Charizard matchup is still really good. C-Pao is a little bit sketch. But besides that, I think you're relatively looking fine. Great Tusk Mill, probably don't play this deck. Same with Future Box. I think both of them are just bad right now. Great Tusk, like, I just think it's the worst control archetype. I think it's still a fine deck. Like, if no other control was in the format, Great Tusk might be good. But I just think all the other control is just better. And Future Box is just bad. Here we do have just Lost Box in general, which I think is really, really strong right now. Like, might be third or fourth best deck in this format. I am going to put it over at the top of A pretty much. It might be the second best deck in A. I don't really know. I just think Lost Box is really versatile. Your stall matchup, it's not the best, but it's not the worst, right? Like, as long as you can hit an Airy and just get rid of some gates or some rods, you're probably okay. That being said, I'd rather play Lost Tina in this current format. I do think Lost Box is a better deck, but I think Lost Tina is very well positioned in the sense that you still beat Charizard. I think it's the easiest deck to go and beat Stall with. I think your control matchup, it could be a little bit worse. I think it's still relatively okay. And I just think that Lost Tina is genuinely very well positioned in our current format. And yeah, there's really not much else to Lost Tina. Like, everybody knows what it does. It's going to come out. It's going to do okay. It might not win the regional. Well, it probably won't win the regional, but it still does pretty good most of the time. Gardevoir is probably a B tier deck. I still think Gardevoir is relatively good. I still think that it's probably well positioned enough that I think it's a fine play. I could see it making a top 8. I probably can't see it winning the regional. The Rise of Lost Box, I don't think Lost Box is a very good matchup for you still. And I know it's like, oh, well, now we play Jirachi, we still play Manaphy. It's like, yeah, I know, but Lost Box tends to just get attacking before you do. And I know Fluttermane can make the matchup a lot easier. However, I don't think it's as easy as everybody seems to think it is. Bolt, don't play this deck. Pidgeot Charizard, I'm actually going to bump it down to A tier right now. With the rise of like cards like Airy coming out really, really hot, I don't know if I can put it in S right now. Especially because C-Pao is so popular, especially because I think Dialga's not really the best matchup. Arctina is still relatively good. I think that Charizard maybe is falling down a little bit, and I think that it's fine, right? Like, I think it's still Charizard. It's still the second best deck in the format, but I do think that we have a new king of the format. And yeah, Charizard is just kind of like, I think it's finally a time where this weekend I'm not sitting here going, well, time to just watch Charizard win a regional. I'm confident something else is going to do that. Bibarel Charizard, D. It's not because it's a D tier deck. It's absolutely not. It's just a definitively worse version of Pidgeot Charizard, so probably just don't play it. And then the S tier deck of the day is chien-pao. I think chien-pao is just very good right now. You take so many good matchups. I think your Lost Box matchup is really good. Your Lost Tina matchup is really good. Your Charizard matchup feels very strong. Like, I just think that in general, you have a great matchup spread, and maybe your stall matchup is really hard. Well, not maybe. I know it's really hard, but it's definitely not unwinnable. And I think that in general, I think chien-pao is definitely like, if I was going this weekend, I would be probably playing chien-pao. And that's coming from a guy that's just been seeing success with like Lost Zone. So I think that it's really important to look at it and just go, chien-pao might be that deck right now. And next format, it's not that deck. But I think that right now, like, if you're ever playing chien-pao, this might be the peak that we ever see the deck at. So I think that if you like chien-pao at all, it's the end of the format, it's the end of the season. Maybe like, oh, I've already got my invite, I'm not getting my invite, but I'm still going. If you do like chien-pao, just play it. It's a really fun deck. It's kind of hard to play, but I think it's really well positioned, and who knows, maybe you'll make a deep run. Bolt Shocks, as much as I'd love to put it in B tier, I think it's still a C tier deck. Unfortunately, Bolt's time is not right now. It is, well, as of the time filming this, in about 24 hours, where it will probably start seeing a lot of success on TCG Live. And I think that Raging Bolt, I don't think it's horribly positioned, right? But like, your chien-pao matchup is iffy, your Charizard matchup is iffy, your Lost Box matchup is iffy. It's like, I don't really know what you're actually beating here. So I think that it's probably a C tier deck right now. Probably don't play it to LA, right? That's coming from a Bolt guy, but I think that definitely, like, if you're going to be playing Raging Bolt, if you like Raging Bolt at all, next format is going to be very, very kind for you. I just don't think right now, with the way the meta is looking, that Bolt Shocks is really a great play. Just likewise with Roaring Moon, it's probably just a bad deck. Goldango's another deck that I'm like, I want to rate Goldango high because I love Goldango. Actually, like, Goldango is one of my favorite decks. It's just super fun. You're just drawing a ton of cards. You're doing a lot of damage. You can use Palkia, and Palkia is one of my favorite Pokemon, right? I think that's just a known fact at this point, is that I do like Palkia, but it's hard for me to rate Goldango in a B tier because I just don't think it is B tier. Shout out Gem. If this was Gem's list, Goldango would be right up here with chien-pao. I just don't think it is. It's probably better than Raging Bolt, but probably like around that same level, right? A block. People are going to start teching for this deck, unfortunately. I think it's still good. I think probably B tier is fine. I have said, and I will continue to say, I think block was the sleeper deck of this format. And I know everybody was hating on me in the comments. They're like, oh, block's not that good. Like, stop rating block so high. I'm like, guys, I think block is good. And then it goes and wins a regional. So what can I say? Maybe I'm the prophet that will tell us what's going to win a regional. And if I were to take a guess right now, it's probably Lost Box this weekend. Write that down right now. Yeah, I think block is still relatively fine. If you're gonna play it, but like, people are gonna be more prepared for it. You're probably gonna hit a lot of ties. If you're gonna make a really deep run, you've got to know when to scoop. You've got to have opponents that know when to scoop. And I think it's really important, right? Like, if you don't start like 3-0, like if you're not hitting really good players or people that understand the game a lot, you're probably taking your ties, because it's really against the people that just don't understand the game and how block works. That tend to drag it out to a tie, because like, if I'm in a losing position against block, I'm like, yep, I'm not closing out this game. I'm just scooping and trying to win the next. And I think that's where some people really struggle, is they just don't do that. Ancient Box is probably B tier. I really liked this deck for a little bit. Well, I didn't really like it. A lot of people really liked this deck for a little bit. It actually wasn't too bad, but I cannot rate it well right now. It's kind of fumbled, right? Like, its win percentage in Indianapolis Day 2 was like 35%. Like, it was horrible. I think it was one of the worst, like, win percentage decks in the whole, like, tournament. I just think Ancient Box, it's definitely not the play. Don't play Ancient Box. I think it's still fine, right? Like, obviously the deck is good. We know that the deck is fine, but like, is it really fine? That's kind of my thinking. I'm like, it just doesn't feel good. Like, there's nothing. I'm sitting here, I'm like, yes, Ancient Box farms right now. Like, chien-pao, it's like, yeah, I beat chien-pao, but like, chien-pao can still beat me. And like, that's what's crazy. Like, if I'm chien-pao and I'm like, yep, I'm gonna hit Moonlight Shuriken on 2, and then I'm gonna amp you very much, and maybe you just can't return amp, like, maybe you just can't return Iron Hands, and they just get 2 amps and you just lose. Like, it just feels bad, right? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Lugia, I'm probably gonna put in the B tier. Lugia takes a bad C-pao matchup. Lugia itself already is like not the best deck consistency wise. Like, maybe you probably don't want to lose to what might be the number 2 deck. Might even jump up really high, might come close to number 1, but I doubt it. I think Charizard is still just gonna be there. In general, I think Lugia is a fine play, right? Like, it'll probably make a top 32. It'll probably do relatively fine. Is it going to top 8? Probably not. I have faith in Zach. I think maybe he'll make a really deep run, but like, Lugia is just not a deck that I'm looking at right now going, yep, this is absolutely the play. I think it's still fine, like I said, with the other B tier decks. Like, if you want to play it, but I'm not sitting here being like, play this deck to win, because it's probably just not going to happen. Donnie, don't play this deck. It's another deck that next format, kind of like Raging Bolt, it's like right now it's just not the right time, but next format maybe it is, and who knows, maybe Miraidon's actually pretty okay. Now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at like Lost Box, I'm looking at Gardevoir, Chien-pao, I'm like, maybe Miraidon actually does deserve to be up here with like Goldango and Raging Bolt. I think it's probably a fine deck. Maybe I'd play it without the Alecki package. I think just like regular Miraidon's fine. But I think Miraidon actually could be okay. It's probably going to be really good next format, like probably a top like 6 or 7 deck in the format, and I think that's really awesome. I played Miraidon to my first regional of the season in Pittsburgh. I finished 5-4, so we don't talk. That was a washed regional. But, you know, it was my first regional in a really long time, so I was just happy to be here. And Miraidon's kind of always going to have a place in my heart for that reason. Now, Bennett probably don't play Bennett. I'd love to say Bennett's good. I don't think it is. Torterra. If there was, if there was a way that we can we add another row? Can I go here and add a row below? New. This is going to be Torterra's row. This deck is awful. Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever actually played a deck that it frustrated me more than Torterra, which really sucks because I love Torterra. He's one of my favorite Pokemon. And I think that's what really sucks is that I'm like, Torterra just sucks. And that's literally it. Espathra. I think Espathra is actually a very good and solid play for this coming event. Right? Obviously, your CPAL matchup could be a little bit better. But I think Espathra in general is relatively fine, right? Like, it makes your Dialga matchup, your Dialga matchup feels pretty good. Your Arc matchups feel pretty solid to me, at least. A lot of your Lost Zone stuff feels pretty good. Your Charizard obviously is good. That's kind of what you're playing the deck to beat. I think that Espathra is actually a very solid deck. I think this is probably the highest I think it's ever been on here. And I think that, like, if I was going, Espathra is a deck I'm seriously considering playing if I'm going to LA this weekend, which I'm not because my invite's not happening, right? I just didn't put enough effort in. And I'm like, I'm just going to save my time for NAIC. I've been testing a lot. I do have my masterclass coming out tomorrow. So sign up for that. It's $5. There's like 9 spots left or whatever. But yeah, like, Espathra is just, it's a deck. I think it's really well positioned, and I think that, like, I think it should be on your radar, and I think that you should know how to play around Espathra. Lost Goo's not good. Pidgeot Control is probably very good. Right? Like, your Lost Zone matchups feel very solid. Your Dialga matchup doesn't feel too bad. I think Pidgeot Control is actually probably like the third deck. Like, this isn't like the best decks right now. Like, the 10 best decks, that's those videos where it's like, these are just the 10 best decks in the format. This is kind of like a tier list where I'm like, if you're going to this regional and I was trying to win, these are my picks for decks. And honestly, if I was trying to win this regional, I'm playing Pidgeot Control. Right? Like, I can't bring myself to play Control. I don't really like it. But if I was sitting here, like, if there was like, you win this regional or your whole family dies, I'm like, I'm probably playing Pidgeot Control. I just think it's that deck right now. Your matchups against Charizard and Chien-pao are pretty solid, and I think that's really important to have. I think Pidgeot Control is very well positioned. Probably, yeah, actually, you know what? I just think it's that deck right now, and I would put it in S, but you guys would probably be right. But I think if I were to pick a deck that's going to win, it's Lost Box or Pidgeot Control. Lost Zone Bolt, I'm gonna put it right here with Bolt Shocks, just because I can't let nobody, I'm gonna put it above Bolt Shocks. Because Lost Bolt, my boy. I think in general it's a little more flexible than Sandy Shock's Bolt, just for the fact that, like, you can use Iron Hands, you can use Cramorant. There's just a lot more you can do. Using Sableye especially feels really strong. So I feel like Lost Bolt isn't really a horrible play. It's just kind of down to, is anybody gonna play it? And you know what? Honestly, probably not. It probably won't see a day 2 at LA, which is unfortunate because I do love the deck, but I know, like, the deck's copium. It's folded every time I've played it. And you know what? I think that in general, there's probably better decks to play. I think regular Lost Box is just better. Arc Goo Pix, bad. Palkia Bolt, bad. Lost Charizard is bad. Turbo Hands. I wish I could put Turbo Hands in the Torterra tier, but I actually think it's okay. Where do I want to put not Torterra? Where do I want to put Turbo Hands? Probably still in B tier. Probably better than Ancient Box, to be honest. I actually don't mind Turbo Hands. I don't really like your Snorlax matchup. I think it's actually quite bad. But in general, I think that like your matchup spread is fine. You're probably losing to chien-pao. You're probably losing to Charizard. Maybe it's not that great, but you know what? I think that in general, like, it's a low skill deck that I can definitely see making a deep run. It has fallen off for sure, but in general, I think the deck is really good. Like just that cheeking wins, right? Like every deck can lose to Turbo Hands, just the same way Turbo Hands can lose to every deck. And I think that like if you were not testing anything coming into this format, Turbo Hands is a fine play for you to play just because it's relatively easy, right? Arc Goo, probably don't play that either. It just doesn't feel great right now, and that's unfortunate. The next one we have Arc Armarouge, which I also feel like I gotta put some respect on this deck. I actually like it a lot more than Turbo Hands or Ancient Box. I think Arc Armarouge is pretty solid coming into this. Adding this Torterra tier kind of just fumbled this. Now you can't see, but you know what? It is what it is. The next deck is Moonsparce. I think this is just definitively way better Ancient Box. I think Moonsparce is pretty well positioned. It's probably like a good amount ahead of Ancient Box right now. And I think Moonsparce is just kind of okay, right? It definitely takes an easier Charizard matchup, and I definitely just think the ability to use Frenzied Gouging and have a little bit more of like a flex attacker is really great. But yeah, guys, here is what I've sat at with this regional tier list. As unfortunate as it is to put some of these decks down in D tier, down in C tier, I'm like, you just probably deserve it, right? And I really like the format. I'm kind of sad to see this format go because like it was actually kind of fun, right? Like there was a lot of versatility, a lot of decks, and like even though Charizard was really big, it was kind of like this deck can beat Charizard, so maybe it'll be like a really fun week. Maybe it'll be a really cool regional, and then Charizard just won everything, and then we're like Dialga, and then it's like stall. It's like it's just kind of like that. I think the format was really fun though, and I'm really excited to watch LA regionals and to kind of see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are excited for next format, and until next time, I'll catch you later.
Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.